Good afternoon, everybody, and I thank you to give us an opportunity here. I will not be really making a company presentation, but I really like the suggestions by the chair to talk of India-specific solutions. In fact, the topic that was given to us for discussion is a very broad topic, and smart grids has everything starting from grids to comms, right? It's the IT/OT story that we are seeing. We have been long associated in this area, particularly in the European markets, and there were also a lot of lessons that we learned along the way. Metering is an area which is very, very active currently, practically with the push on the Uday program. I'm sure all utilities and the regulators that are present here will have some kind of a mandate to decide pretty soon on smart metering rollouts. It's not also about metering, it's about looking at the entire end-to-end ecosystem. And this is where, experienced communication players will come in. And, when you'll have interoperability challenges, you will have a lot of IT that would have come into your grid. So the entire ecosystem of traditional electrical engineers will shift to, a lot of IT and communications arena. And, being in the utility industry for many years, I understand the challenges, when IT and communication comes into the utility space, and how it has to be, with the change management that's required, and making people understand the value and go along the chain to decimate the technology. So, very important topic. How do I change yeah? Why do you have so many? Yeah. So, um, so metering as a service was something so our experience of Ericsson is traditionally coming from very, closed and very strong markets of Sweden, Italy, Estonia and so on, which were very, one, closed in terms of rules and regulations, as well as very stringent in terms of, demands, what were put together for rolling out these programs. Ericsson does this, metering as a service. I'm sure today when the challenges are being discussed on downright CapEx payments for these deployments vis-a-vis OpEx, should utilities take an OpEx route, and I think metering as a service could come in as a viable alternative. This is something we have achieved over a time. We understand the SLAs, we understand the requirements, we understand the data availability. The heart of an AMI deployment will be the data. This has been our consistent learning, and the whole system will depend how accurately and in a time-bound fashion that the data was delivered. So the utility, the entire business case revolves around data. So that's how the the benefits that are expected would come out. So it is the data which will play a very, very important part. Then it's okay. I will here summarize some of the challenges we learned, and these would be very important, and this comes with experience. Of course, we can try to replicate it. We are in the process of deploying the Assam APDCL pilot. I can correlate to some of the learnings that we had done in Europe. So we have consciously tried to avoid those mistakes from happening, and we've been educating and working very closely with the deployment agency as well as with the utility there. Couple of challenges, if you look at the operations side, one was, like sir clearly mentioned, that pilot stage is over. Pilot for a smaller part of the city, you can actually do it and you can probably forget about it, lose interest, and the whole thing can go into a cold storage. So this was one learning, was if you want to do it, you do it pretty much on a scale, because that also helps to bring the cost down. I mean, we are looking at smart meter prices today, which were declared, are about 5,000 rupees, but the expectation from a country like India would be to be below about 1,000 rupees or so. So scale would be a very, very important aspect here. Then there was, unexpected deployment costs. So if you don't manage this program properly, there is a lot of coordination that's required. Cities in India are not as well planned or as straightforward with the topography as you see in Europe. So cities in India would require a very thorough planning. Consumer in India is also not very very friendly when it comes to, barging into their premises and say, okay, we are here to install meters. So I think this is also has to be kept into mind, that how we plan to do it. There will be again a lot of push from the regulatory, from the utility, to enable the awareness campaigns around these meter deployments, to make the access more user friendly. Consumers should know beforehand, and this is what we did in Assam, by the way, that we every time our people are going to deploy meters, 3 weeks before the deployment starts, we are doing extensive consumer campaign there. We have created a hotline. If you have any questions as to whether this is a utility funded program, this is really mandated by law and things like that, and this makes the accessibility very easy. This makes a friendly consumer to us when we go and deploy the meter, right? And this helps you save a lot of repeated runs that you require to go and do it. Asset degradation, of course, this is again, and like any asset, this will degrade over time, so it will require regular maintenance, regular checks, professional handling. LV grid mapping, here I see it as an opportunity as well as it's been a challenge. Our experience is, that the data, the consumer profiling, consumer data is a very, very big challenge even in the best of the utilities in the country. I think this is a fantastic opportunity when you go and roll out smart meters. There is a very strong drive by the government of India to, every citizen has a national identity card, which is pretty much the Aadhaar card. So, link the consumer with the Aadhaar card. So it also helps to create a national database, which gets more and more active. It is also then the, consumer knows that the utility has his most important number. So he cannot escape from, any mischiefs or anything he has in mind. So I think that's a very valuable learning, and we are educating APDCL in that route to how do you tag, and this is also an opportunity to clean up the process. So data is such a messy affair, and utilize this opportunity to streamline consumer to meter to pole tagging, pole to transformer tagging, transformer to the substation tagging. Wherever there are gaps, it's a fantastic time to do it. There are a lot of technologies available that can help you streamline this process in this area. So we see it, of course, it's a challenge, but it's a very, very big opportunity to do that. What we also recognize over the time, and I already insisted, was communication failure. I mean, cards are sometimes very moody, so comms worked and comms did not work. But the learnings were, if you deploy and you test the cards as and how the deployment is happening, you do a dry run and a couple of dry runs, you ensure that the availability, because if you are bound and guaranteed by 99% availability, you have a lot of penalty coming on your way if comms is not working properly. Another challenge was uncoordinated operations. Today, utilities, may not think, or they have the traditional maintenance that happen, and in the Indian context, the maintenance can be very, very crude, which happens on the ground. So, we have to be cautious of the fact that these are delicate devices. There has to be a coordinated effort. When we shut down a feeder or a transformer, we should ensure that, that these devices don't get damaged, because they are expensive. Right. Then on the meter to cash cycle, here again we had some learnings to offer. Lack of data integration. So you can do a fantastic job, you can deploy the meters, you can have fantastic infrastructure around it, but if you don't have a complete end-to-end system to read the data, to take the data directly to the billing cycle, I think then the gaps will continue to remain. So it has to be beyond a head-end system or whatever. So you have to have a very solid meter data management system, a time and time tested system, because the volume in India is going to be very, very huge. I mean, when you're looking at cities, gradually you would look at something like a 10 million in a city. So this is a lot of data that a system will go live with, right? Then where this data will go? So it has to be hosted on cloud. You would need advanced billing applications on cloud. You would need data centers to manage that. So that there has to be a holistic approach around it, right? Then we also saw was unresolved commercial losses. So we did everything, right? But still the theft was there, or so losses did not stop. Losses do come down, but they did not stop. And that's where analytics plays a very important part. So we also encourage, wherever we are engaged, that these things go hand in hand today. Have smart analytics deployed so that you are able to check the consumer where and probably reduce and minimize these impacts. Limited demand side management. I think this is something we'll have to live for the time being until the tariff policy interventions come in. But demand side management is a very, very important lever that the utilities take it in the business case when they look at the AMI deployments. And I think this is also, it has to be encouraged that consumer really takes it very seriously, that this, whenever the demand side, whatever is expected, they have to comply. But here again, I would say, but this is something India will really probably can leapfrog if you have a very active consumer engagement in this area. What we also saw was suboptimal process and application integration. So we have seen in APDRP, there are a lot of learnings, a lot of you would be aware of that. There were a lot of fly-by-night operators that came in, they sold fancy stuff and they went off, right? So what happened? You had interoperability challenges, you have end-of-life cycle products and so on. So I think this is something where whenever you decide, you look at the stability of the partner you want to engage with, you look at here I would like to say, we have created more jobs out of Sweden in India. So today, practically all telco operators, we are managing the networks for them. So I think the viability of a partner is very important in this case. And what we also saw, but this was more from the first generation of smart meters that came in, that there was limited services that came up. I think in India, this probably may not be the case. Smart metering will open up many new, value-added service companies will come up, metering as a service, data as a service, a lot of new avenues will come up, and I think Indians are very, very innovative when it comes to thinking new ideas, right? And I think this will be a fantastic opportunity also to co-create or create parallel markets which will enable the utility or help the utility in the long run. Moving on, this is something from our portfolio. This is what we call billing on cloud. It's Metranet. So this is fairly easy. You can even do on-site billing. I think when you deploy, you deploy smart meters, you would want to have point-of-time billing and things like that. And this is where this application can be of big help. What we also talk about is data-centric security. Now you will invest, utilities will gradually invest heavily into smart metering. There's a lot of IT which is coming into beyond SCADA. There's advanced DMS, OMS applications, field force automation. Recently, Tata Power had ordered. So we see that data security will become a very, very big avenue and also a challenge. And this is again where we have customized and tailored solutions which we are doing for different European utilities. This is again, sir, from your topic that, how can we reuse the assets for what we have? I think asset life management is a very important topic. Today, sensors are available which help you for a real-time monitoring of your network. If your transformer is getting overheated or if your high voltage cable or a medium voltage cable has a fault. This can be monitored well in time, so it's a preventive maintenance that can happen. There are technology enablers which help you to, even in the crowded distribution network that we have, and so these can help you and I think from a discom it's very important that the limited outage is also the time we realize it's more billing, right? You don't have those MUs which got wasted. So I think real-time monitoring of your assets becomes very, very important, and there are solutions today available which can help you save a lot of challenges at a later date. Finally, this is the point. So when I said, today you have to think there is so much of communication that is waiting to happen in your utilities. Data centers is one of the last milestones that will come up because there will be so much of data. And there is no point until you utilize the data properly, store and manage the data properly. So these investments can again go waste. So there are options available. There are also, and to come up with multi-operator challenges, you will also want to talk of IP and MPLS networks, which will help you have a vendor-independent layer, so that communication that you have invested in your grid will not get impacted. And there are these solutions available. We have a couple of value-added offerings which we do it more of a consultancy side, that is smart grid readiness of your utility, smart grid communication readiness of the utility, and so on. So with that, I thank you all, and happy to talk to any of you, whatever challenges your company may be facing. Thank you very much.